It's not that it's bad. Damn it, it's just too expensive.
Hi friends, I'm Meliora. I hope you enjoyed the 10-second review of the brand Memo Paris. With with the main gripe that I have against the brand out of the question in the first 10 seconds, let's actually get down to the amazing, good, mediocre, could be better, and just plain bad. All my thoughts and feelings about the concept, the packaging, and especially the juice. Memo Paris is really interesting brand. It's kind of in a nutshell a highbrow European niche. Was another example of a couple, kind of family-based venture. It was formed in 2007 by a couple. As they describe themselves, Clara Malloy is a Parisian Catalan poet, and her husband John is the sporty Irish globetrotter. The memo is basically, it's like their motto, memo like memory, like souvenir, like silage. The journey is the destination. So basically, like, there's a whole bunch of other inspirational Instagram-worthy cliches there. You can read it if you want on their beautiful website. I just want to focus on the fact that, first of all, I do find that a lot of niche brands these days become either family ventures, like either one or two spouses is really well off, or they sell their business and then they go into it as a what it sometimes seems like semi-retirement, or at least, you know, like I worked my ass off all my life, now I want to work and enjoy it a little bit more. And a lot of the niche brands these days kind of focus on a travel inspired sense. Gallivant is kind of like the immediately comes to mind, but I mean there are a lot of brands that kind of use and abuse the the travel concept. I think it's sex, travel, youth are probably three pillars of fragrance marketing. Let me know if you know of any others. So I guess I can't really complain, because like where would we be without these three? But at the same time, sometimes I feel they're a little bit overdone. But that said, it's always refreshing to see original concepts, and I find that the naming and the dedications of each perfumes are quite unique. I'm not gonna go too much into the marketing spiels. You can find them online. I'm not a representative of the brand, so you know. I'm just gonna talk about my personal impressions of how the perfumes are blended and composed. But first, after we talked briefly about their kind of their background, I want to say that the packaging, I find it really refreshing when niche brands, even though they do have to cut corners here and there all the time, when they do invest in the original holistic design, the design of the concept that overlaps with the design of the bottles, that overlaps with the impression that you get when you smell their perfumes. I find that Memo Paris is one of the good examples when they really put a lot of thought, care, and money where their mouth is. Here's one of the bottles that I have. It's absolutely gorgeous. You get these gold, they're not, as far as I know, they're not always gold. They kind of experiment now with different kind of graphic designs on top of the gold plate, the chrome on the back, and it also usually has some kind of pattern there. Pretty heavy, substantial lids with the engraving. The glass quality is good. I would say it's good. I mean, it's very hard to beat Chanel and Francis Kurkdjian when it comes to the quality of the glass make, because theirs just unprecedented. But it's good. Everything here is good. I do like that even though the packaging is uniform, it's all ever so subtly different. So there is a bit of the uniqueness and both togetherness and uniqueness of each perfume that they belong to the same line or to the same brand. The prices though, I mean, I'm sure there are people for whom to spend $300, $200 for a bottle of perfume that they may or may not like is no big deal. I doubt there are many of them, to be honest. I think there are much fewer of them that niche house brands think they are. What do I know? I'm only a data scientist working in this area. So I'm just gonna say that if not for the price tag and a very painful difference in price between their offerings in Europe and United States. For example, I've seen the official corner sending the travel sizes in Moscow, like Zoom, Goom, and other places, like a really high-end boutiques, and they were sometimes 2 or 3 times cheaper than the same travel sizes, if you can find them even in United States. So the pricing policy is all over the place, and it's a little bit painful. Their fragrances cost, the markup to buy them in United States is a little bit jaw-dropping to me. But I'm not the CEO of the brand. I don't know if it's changing. Maybe it will change. Maybe it's a whole the question of distribution and I don't know, taxes, import taxes. I don't know. I hope they'll sort it out and they'll find a more purse-friendly way to introduce perfume lovers to their scents. That's all I'm saying. But that being out of the way, let's talk about the fragrances themselves. I've got 6 fragrances for us to discuss today, not even to count the honorary mentions. So let's get to it. The first one, I think it's the most atypical of the bunch we're about to discuss, is Tamarindo. Tamarindo is a sample that was very graciously shared with me by a fellow perfume blogger with like a decade of experience, Olishka. Hi. So, this is the kind of gourmand that pineapple lovers might appreciate. Tamarindo is the edible type of gourmand. I kind of like quoting Jean-Claude Ellina, an influence perfumer who spent a lot of his years collaborating with Hermes brand. He, in his book, The Diary of a Nose, I think it's a pretty famous quote, that a good gourmand is supposed to be appetizing, but not necessarily edible. However, the market dictates its own rules. Edible gourmand is something that has very literal reference to something you can eat in a dessert or in a cafe or in kind of like coffee shop. They do have a pretty large place in the overall perfume market, and I call them edible. Something that hits very, very close and almost can make you feel a little bit hungry for, like a cup of coffee with, a chocolate cake or tiramisu or something like that. And they're appetizing gourmands, something that makes you think of a delicious dessert, but in a very transformative and kind of artistic sense. It's not a straight path. It's more like an illusion. It's a echo, a very artistic interpretation of a gourmand accord. So Tamarindo, in my book, really goes toward edible gourmands. It's very heavy to me in this combination of kind of liquid caramel syrup that you can add in to your latte in Starbucks. Similarly, it kind of it's referential as those chewy caramels, like a chewing toffee type of candies. And with that kind of base, which I presume is probably a effect that's created by ylang ylang and vanilla, at least ylang ylang very commonly to me smells caramelly like. But the opening, I think, is what really makes people like this perfume, those that do prefer edible gourmands, is the pineapple. It's a very sweet pineapple. It has all of this sourness, like this typical acidic sourness of a pineapple taken out of it. So all of the sweet sides of fruits and caramel candy are there, and therefore it's optimistic, charming, girly, you know, for what that usually stands for. But it's not really my cup of tea. And I feel there, like, as edible gourmands are dominating the budget and designer world of perfumes right now, you can get something like that much cheaper. Just saying, it's not a difficult job to find edible gourmands these days. So I don't know, I don't quite see the value prop here being fulfilled. All right, now we're gonna transition to a few lighter fragrances. It turns out I am genuinely in love with a lot of sophisticated, kind of dusty florals, something that is very kind of British style of blending. And Memo Paris has quite a few to offer. First is gonna be Memo Siwa, I think. Hope you can see the name in the insert. Again, a very generous sample that I got from the Oswald magazine from Olabar. Thank you so much, dear. I've been thinking. It's this typical kind of like something you would expect from Diptyque or Penhaligon's. Maybe Jo Malone, but simpler. I mean, Jo Malone would be simpler, not this. And I've been thinking, it's kind of like this light, sunny yellow floral. And then I looked at the notes and it has narcissus. And I do like it. I don't love it. When it comes to really amazing, the most realistic, true interpretation of narcissus as a spring flower, I always go to Astara by Penhaligon's. Some rumor that it's discontinued, some say it's bullshit and it's still available. I have no idea. Brands usually don't really inform the kind of the wider public about their plans to reformulate something or discontinue, so take it or leave it, I don't know. But if you are a big fan of kind of springy florals, something that is not super sweet, not tuberosy, not lily, not jasmine, not those usual ones when people say florals, rose being set aside because it has like a million faces. The spring florals is usually mimosa, tulip, narcissus, and what else? Well, lily of the valley, but it's not, it's kind of like out of fashion these days, which I think is kind of sad. But anyway, so the Astara narcissus has more depth and facets to the spring floral idea of the idea of the flower itself, because it has both the kind of sunny creamy yellowness, but it also has these typical herbaceous powderiness of that narcissus also have. So if I had to look for the best spring floral featuring narcissus, I would go for Astara. I wouldn't go for Siwa. Otherwise, it's pleasant. It's very delightful. I can see a lot of brands, especially niche brands, having an army of similar kind of light, elegant, semi-sweet, just with a tinge of kind of pollen, but just a little bit. It's beautiful. But what kind of sweetness is there on the background, I can't really tell. It could be whiskey, it could be vanilla, it could be anything. It's not like you can really pull out any particular facet in a very straightforward fashion. It's very smooth and fine blending. I like Siwa. I would wear it if I had it. Would I buy it though? not for like, what are they? $280? I think that's more or less the ballpark of Memo pricing. I mean, for that kind of pricing, it better be the best on the market ever produced, at least to me. But it's a decent one. The next one that was a decant sent to me by another beloved subscriber, Andre from New York. This is Memo Paris Jannat. This is the first Memo fragrance that I actively dislike. Actually dislike. It's just one of the loudest so far. Very thick, kind of green, yellow, almost tuberosy in some odd. It's like, yeah, it's like green tuberose peeking through other very thick green notes. Why do I keep saying green? I don't know. But it's actually unpleasant. I cringe when I smell it. There's something here that just... No, I'm like a vampire against garlic. Just Jannat is completely off the grid for me, even though it's definitely more of a beast mode kind of perfume. It has longevity. It actually does transform into something much softer and nicer like after an hour or so, but surviving the first 15 minutes is a challenge. I keep going back and forth about what is this fougere type of greenness, and I was like really trying to reserve the word fougere because I've been burned before claiming that fragrances are fougeres when officially at least the brand doesn't think they are. But granted, all of these labels, like the fragrance wheel, is very, I don't want to say artificial, it's empirical. It's kind of like just like a made up distinctions that sort of kind of worked, and they kind of work less and less and less so because of the diversity of materials and combinations that are now available to the perfumers. Nevertheless, for those of you who prefer kind of like a classic distinctions between the fragrance families, this is a bright green fougere. It has the necessary kind of density, and I've been thinking, what is the annoying floral that drives me nuts? I called it green tuberose. It's actually not. The notes say that it might be neroli with frangipani, which to me, not the first two notes I would associate with each other, because I think that's exactly what makes it so headache inducing. The frangipani, as many of you, I don't know if you haven't smelled it in real life, it's kind of like this overdose of creamy sweetness. And neroli is very hard to do in a way that it's not screechy. It can go very soapy, and sometimes it goes very kind of like sharp and rough as a kind of floral note. It can give some kind of unsettling, screaming, screechy feeling. So now imagine the overdose of creamy sweetness combined with the screechiness and loudness of neroli, and you get Jannat, pretty much. Not for faint-hearted. If you have Jannat and you love it, please let me know. How do you perceive it? What do you like about it? How does it live on your skin through the day? Because I'm kind of curious to hear a different point of view. All right, now I might cry a little. Now we're transitioning toward things like that. I got myself a full-sized bottle of Kedu, the fragrance that is dedicated to the infamous spice. And okay, let's do a swatch because I actually got two here. The sample that was sent to me by Olibar, and I specifically asked for it in one of the videos, and she was very kind to provide me with a comparison. So here's my story. Here's my story. I fell in love with Memo Paris when I was in Moscow, and I'll show you what was the fragrance that just glued my eyes to this brand. When I was flying back to my home in the States, I had probably like 2 hours to spare at the airport, and Sheremetyevo duty free is one of the world's best playgrounds for trying niche perfumes. If you have a minute, just Google the pictures of Sheremetyevo niche perfume corners. They are, I think, as big, comparatively as big as Galeries Lafayette and that is Galeries Lafayette, right? Like the heart of perfume selling in the world, in Paris. They have everything. They have all kinds of niche. They have ton of hyperluxe brands. They have limited and online only editions. It's incredible. It's well worth, like if you're flying to or from, it's well worth actually give yourself a buffer of good 2 hours to just indulge in sampling there. It's amazing. So on that trip, I was very interested in sampling Kedu, Amouage, I think Sergio, and like a few other niche brands. And I fell in love with Kedu. Granted, it was after trying probably over 24 of other perfumes, so I'm not really sure what was I smelling at that point, but I just came to a conclusion: I need to have it in my life. I was hunting it down for a long time, and eventually I found an eBay seller who sold it to me from abroad. I bet you already know where the story is gonna go. Yes. From the start, as soon as I got it, I smelled it, and I felt it was not quite what I remembered. I wrote it off to the aforementioned oversampling of everything at once. And a few people asked me to share with them the decants. I did so. They did and double checked it with the Memo Paris corners and said it actually does smell like the testers that they had a chance to sample at the official corners. So I was like, all right, well, that's probably just my memory doesn't serve me well. There's nothing in the packaging that you will be able to detect that this is a fake. Absolutely nothing. I compared. However, this is a fake. And I got to this conclusion only very recently after I extensively wore what I have here and what Olibar sent me from the official Oswald perfume boutique, the one that has like a history. It's like one in Zurich, one in New York. I think probably over half of New York perfume bloggers grew up sampling perfumes in that particular perfume boutique. I have like zero concern about authenticity of what they sell and what they provided me as a sample to compare. And at close, like they are related, but they are definitely different. I can tell it through the day as I wear them. This disappears after like 15 minutes. This is also like the real Kedu is also very nudie type of fragrance. It's not super powerful, but it does have a decent longevity, at least like 3 hours. And what's really beautiful about the real Kedu, the one that I have here as a sample, is that it has the most mesmerizing transition from kind of lemony bergamoty opening that both of them have to the delicious and somewhat mysterious spice flavor that I haven't really smelled anywhere else. Most of the time when we talk about hot spicy perfumes, it's the usual suspects: cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, pink pepper, black pepper, you name it, pepper. Here, it's very unique. I forgot saffron, sure. It's really charming. It's still not what I remembered when I was sampling in duty-free store, but it has pedigree, it has quality make, while what I have here is no better than any other kind of refreshing light lemony bergamot body spray. I paid obviously less than the official price, otherwise I would just bought it from the Memo boutique. I think I spent over $100. It hurts. It hurts to this day. I will wear it because it's, as I said, it's a great morning perfume, but the moral of the story, don't buy Memo perfumes on eBay. Especially don't buy them from abroad. One of the very common fakes, including, I would say, Amouage, Francis Kurkdjian, and a few other like very popular type of niche brands, you know, the ones that are sort of niche brands but everybody knows about them, and like they have such bestsellers that can beat some like designer sales. So yeah, Kedu is charming. Would I buy it again? No. It's interesting, but it's not almost $300 kind of interesting. All right, moving on. This is okay, since we're on the subject of fakes, I've been kind of curious about trying at least one or two leathers from Memo Paris. It's one of the most famous collections that they have. And a subscriber of mine, Andre, just gifted me a fake bottle that he also managed to buy. Also, I think from eBay. I think it also from abroad. Andre, correct me if I'm wrong. It kind of smells like Elizabeth Arden Fifth Avenue Royale. So it's really, again, if you don't know what the real thing smells like, you will never ever be able to tell that this is a fake. The packaging on mine and on this were impeccable, and we actually sat down and compared them with the real bottles. It's not perceptible to the eye in any obvious way. Even the juice itself is kind of made in the same family, but obviously not as complex, not as interesting, not as deep or long lasting. So I just keep it and I just spray it randomly because I do enjoy the kind of smoky, woody, licorice type of gourmand that it has, but I'm still kind of like thinking about one of the leather scents because some of them seem very similar. So for those of you who have tried leathery scents or have a bottle of one of the bottles, please let me know which one is your favorite. I was originally split between Moroccan leather, African leather, and French leather. So this is just a gag, right? Like it's not really a review of African leather. It's just like showing you that. Let me actually show you the real bottle. I'll talk about it last, but I'm just trying to convince you that when you're buying things from eBay, it's not necessarily that you will immediately know that you got a fake. Sometimes you have to literally compare the juices to notice a difference. But once you do, there's no comparison. Like it's clear what's the real deal. So one of the leathers I managed to find in the form of a body cream. I think, I can't really see, but I think I'm more than half through. And this is French leather. And I got lucky and I got a decant of French leather also from Oswald and Olibar. To my surprise, because they're not similar enough for me to make a good judgment about French leather as a perfume just from using the body cream. Usually this rule, kind of this method, works really well for me. I made a whole video about that, how I gonna try to save my money and increase the rate of rotation of different fragrances without splurging on blind buys of such something that expensive. And shower gels, body creams is one way of doing so. And so far it's been working fairly well with a few notable exceptions. This is one of them. I expected that more expensive brands put more effort into equalizing their formulas so that the perfume, like eau de parfum, eau de toilette, shower cream, body cream, which are all different chemical formulations, still give you the same or very close bouquet when the fragrance opens up. Yes, the body cream, French leather, sort of gives it that sour rose, and the sourness here is kind of very leathery. It's kind of like a patent leather feel in a way, but the eau de parfum is much more powdery, suedey, and therefore a little bit more alluring, a little bit more romantic. If I only tried this, I would never ever vote for like putting this on my wish list. But now that I actually tried eau de parfum, I'm thinking about it. But I'm still very intrigued by African leather and Moroccan leather. I'll tell you what, if there was a decently priced travel, not that something that's like costs $75 for 5 mil, but you know, like something like Fanbird or others, you know, like 15-20 bucks per 8 or 10 milliliters, I probably would buy myself French leather. It's just like an affair that I would like to have in my life, but I'm not sure that I would really make use of a full-size bottle like that, especially given its price. It's just no. But I can vote for the higher appeal and the kind of quality and intrigue that the leather line provides for the price that they kind of the price standard that they set for their perfumes. But when it comes to a truly drool-inducing, amazing scent, this was my first purchase. And to this day, this fragrance just blows my mind. This fragrance alone, without me even trying much, put Memo at top of my wish list for 2 years. It's not there anymore, but I was obsessed. So I got this secondhand from a friendly perfume blogger. I think it was in Moscow. And this is Quartier Latin corner, Latin neighborhood. I don't know how exactly to say that. Oh my god. This is the most exquisite, softly spiced suede. It has a bit of a Christmas tree smell to me, especially if you do have a family tradition of collecting Christmas tree ornaments. A lot of people put it kind of in hard-shelled suitcases or like some kind of boxes. And in the past, we used to store the Christmas ornaments in those hard boxes with something like cotton balls, something like that. And through time, accumulating dust, I don't know, different kinds of smells, all of those Christmas ornaments in those cases, they would acquire this beautiful, somewhat dusty, powdery, semi-sweet scent that I recognize here, and I do recognize in Pure Poison by Dior. I wouldn't say that Pure Poison and Quartier Latin are really close, but I think they kind of look in a similar direction while being sufficiently different fragrances. Both of them give you this feeling of cocoon, of something so fluffy without being tacky. I am in awe of how this is made. I still haven't found a suede fragrance that would come even close, even like in the same vicinity of Quartier Latin. I feel so blessed. I got it for a very good discount because it was like just a friendly blogger exchange, and one of the best deals when it comes to like getting bottles in my collection. If you have to try one or two, I would heavily recommend you choose, at least by description, one of the leathers and Quartier. It is amazing. It is just mesmerizingly both soothing and elegant. It's so good. This thing alone initiated all of this search. This thing alone sponsored my interest for 2 years and basically made this video happen. So, this is my review. I hope you enjoyed it somewhat. Please share if you tried any of their fragrances. What do you think about their price policy? Is it worth it? Could it be like, will you buy them if the prices got a little bit raised, if they got escalated? Would you buy them only if they hit a certain price, or would you be more than willing to pay price per ounce given just a smaller size of the fragrance? I'm super curious to see what you have to say, guys. I'll be waiting for your comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.